The Unplayable Podcast is proudly presented by Qantas, the official podcast partner and the official airline partner of Cricket Australia. Once again this season, Qantas is proud to be flying Australia's cricketers as they take on the world.
Let's get it on, Gilly. This is Pat Cummins. This is Australia.
One of the worst things I have ever seen done on a cricket field. Good night.
Yes, hello and welcome back to the Unplayable Podcast. The first day of the Test summer, even though we're in winter. Welcome to this episode of the Daily Recaps, brought to you again by Qantas for this season. It was a tough day at the office for Australia after they won the toss. Many thought they might be looking at 600 today, but in the end they were all out for less than 200. And Bangladesh got that deficit back to only 102 by the stumps. So an interesting day to kick things off in Darwin. My name is Josh Schonafinger, joined by Louis Cameron, and there's plenty to dissect on the first day of international cricket this summer, Lou.
Yeah, a super interesting day. I mean, let's be real. We have spent the most of the build-up talking about how many days it's going to take Australia to beat Bangladesh. You know, if they bowl first, are they going to knock them over in 3 days? If they bat first, I guess it might go into a fourth day. Well, we've got a test on our hands here.
Absolutely.
Bangladesh have pulled a real turn up on Australia. Like this is, it was a poor batting effort from Australia, and they're once again asking their bowlers to get them out of a pretty sticky spot. How are we going to dive into this one, Josh?
Well, let's have a quick look at the scores. Australia were all out for 198. They faced only 53 overs. The standout bowler there was Hasan Mahmud, the 26-year-old, took a career best 6 for 55, got both the openers, and then took the last 4 wickets of the innings. It all finished pretty quickly from an Australian point of view. And then as the pitch flattened out, Steve Smith said after play that he felt like the tackiness went out of the pitch as the sun sort of bagged it throughout the middle hours of the day. Tanzid Tamim got 32 not out, and Mominul Haq looked really, really comfortable. He's scored lots and lots of test runs. This is his first crack in Australia, and he looks at home with 35 not out at stumps.
Indeed, and it was an Australian team that looked like they were in conditions that they didn't entirely know. We are experiencing humidity and heat up here that I would say is more akin to Dhaka than Sydney or Melbourne or other parts of the world. So you've got this kind of humidity, especially, which is high, unseasonably high for the dry season, I'm told. And then you've got a drop-in pitch that none of the Australians have played on before, and it's unknown to both teams, right? So if we want to start right at the beginning, Pat Cummins wins the toss, elects to bat. And that surprised a few of us. I think the whispers were that Australia thought the wicket might do a little bit, that they knew it was hard in the lead-in days. They knew it was firm and they thought it would play well eventually, but they thought they might be able to get some early stuff out of it. For whatever reason, they didn't about face and decided they were going to bat first. It was probably the wrong call.
Yeah, it was probably the wrong call. Even though the opening partnership for Australia looked promising, 45 runs, they did get away. They weren't giving away too many chances, although Jake Weatherald played and missed a few times, maybe a few nerves playing in front of his home crowd for the first time. But then wickets fell pretty quickly. They lost 3 for 16 in a clump. Some really good bowling from the Bangladeshi pacemen who were consistent, gave very little width, other than looked like a bit of a planter Weatherald. And Australia found it really hard to recover from those wickets. They couldn't really get a partnership going other than the 50 stand between Smith and Carey, but that was it. There were regular wickets all throughout the innings.
There were familiar issues kind of coming up there, which we can dive into a little bit. But, I mean, this was probably good, honest Sheffield Shield kind of level bowling, I'd say, in the sense of the pace. We're looking at 125 to low 130s. Eberdock got a few balls kind of up high 130s. He might have even touched 140, but a lot of it was just kind of honest toiling. The difference between where the keeper and slips were standing for the Bangladesh bowlers versus when Mitchell Starc took the ball for that first over was immense.
Well, how many metres are we talking extra?
Yeah, probably 3, 4, 5. It was quite significant. So we're talking about 2 different games in terms of what Australia are bowling to Bangladesh and vice versa. So if we're going to dive into some of the individuals there that, the spotlight is going to kind of be on, Jake Weatherald has, flipped his technique. We've seen a guy who, was dissected kind of endlessly early on in the TV broadcasts. He's brought his head back from probably outside off stump and in a really crouch low position to back kind of over the top of middle and off. probably makes it him less susceptible to the balls that got him during the Ashes, right? So balls speared back in at his pads. He was getting LBW. He didn't nick off once during the Ashes. All of a sudden, he changes his technique, and that opens up something, a new issue for him, and he's out slashing to a slightly wider ball. So you make one change, and it brings another set of problems. Marnus, it was pretty familiar. There was, for all the talk of tinkering with techniques, here was a guy who was 1 off 19 balls and then nicks his 20th. The intent that they keep talking about, they're wanting to see from him, I didn't see it. I'd be interested to know if the Australian hierarchy saw it. And then from Cameron Green's perspective, another one to be out before lunch. It was kind of a tentative, nervous start, but I did feel like there was a bit more of the intent that they've, Pat Cummins asked him to assert himself on the game before this test. It was a pointed message, I think, that they want to get more out of him. And he hits Hasan Mahmud for 6. I think that took him. I think that was his 8th ball. It took him from 7 off as many balls to 13 off 8. So all of a sudden he's flying, and then kind of on the stroke of lunch, kind of just dinks one up to mid wicket. Maybe you can kind of forgive that because it looked like he was doing the thing that they asked of him. Yeah. So a few different issues with those particular guys.
That it might be a good segue to go to today's moment of the day. Not necessarily the dismissal, but I thought I really enjoyed the celebration from Hasan Mahmud. It was his first wicket of the Test match. He's leader of this attack with a few injuries around. And when Green was caught by Mushfiqur Rahim, at that mid wicket, Taskin sort of threw both his hands in the air and did a little dance, and then it looked like there was some sort of demon trying to escape from his body or something. He sort of lost control and went a little bit haywire, but everybody had a bit of a laugh, and we like to see something a bit different on the celebration front, don't we?
Well, yeah, and we saw that with Eberdot. I mean, it's not that different from what we've actually seen from him in the past. He's played quite a lot of Test cricket, and if you've watched Bangladesh play, you will have seen Eberdot Hasan, who was an active member of the Bangladeshi Air Force.
Yeah,
I'm informed, and I think he got Marnus Labuschagne out, and he did the army salute as he is,
and for his other wicket as well. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, is inclined to do. Not something you necessarily see from Australians, but it's a different culture, and that's all good. We're all here for that. So, power to him.
Now, do you think we're only one innings into the summer, so it's surely not panic stations yet for these guys? I mean, as you have said, it's a consistent theme, these sort of issues that we keep talking about. And again, Australia failed to make 200 in the first match of the series. But it's not panic stations just yet, is it?
Not panic stations, I suppose. But I mean, it's a sustained pattern. They are asking, they're consistently underperforming with the bat and asking their bowlers to dig them out of trouble. And it's a pattern that's kind of playing out often in the first test of a series. My mind has been cast back to Perth the last 2 summers where, last summer we saw Travis Head had to play an all-time innings to get Australia out of the mire there. And then they lost the previous opening test of the summer against India after Bumrah had decimated them on day one. Both tough batting conditions, it must be said, and they were tough batting conditions here. They had the worst of the conditions today. That's their own fault today, no one else's. So, that's one thing. Someone else has kind of brought up the World Test Championship in 2020 or last year in terms of a longish layoff and then coming back into it. And the batters just look like they aren't quite there. On the back of all those series, the batters improved as the series went on. World Test Championship 2025, on the back of that, they played quite well in West Indies, all things considered, and same for the India and England home series. So it's not panic stations, but it's just a familiar set of circumstances, and surely the bowlers are kind of putting their feet into the ice bucket tonight and kind of going, when are we going to kind of get things in our favour? Like Stark and Hazelwood have already bowled 2 spells. Pat Cummins 1, Green and Line have been used a bit, and they're going to have to really take advantage of early in the day conditions, because it looked like a really different game batting in that first session versus batting in that last session.
Yeah, Steve Smith, he's been playing cricket in Australia for the best part of 20 years. He said conditions for top order batters are as hard as they've ever been. Let's have a listen to what he said about just why it's so difficult at the minute with the bat.
Yeah, I think I've said for a while that batting at the top of the order in Australia at the moment is as tough as I've seen in my career by a mile. The ball's seeming significantly. It's extremely tricky, and you need some luck. Definitely as a top order batter. The guys got off to a decent start today. Jake and Hetty, and then we obviously lost a few in clumps there. But I think top order batting at the moment in Australia, in particular, New Zealand, even with the Kookaburra ball. South Africa, I'm guessing similar as well with their Kookaburra ball. It's as hard as I've seen in my career by a mile.
And it's a completely fair point, and it must be said that Smith himself acknowledged that he had a fair bit of early luck. He was dropped by Tanzit at third slip on 2. He was then on 7 when he survived another DRS Snicko controversy.
Huge appeal from Eberdot as well. On
it
this
was,
one.
yeah. I mean, Smith admitted he hit the ball. Like it was pretty clear cut. This audio technology that they're using has consistently been shown to be under par. We all know that there is a better version of the technology that they're using. The broadcaster is the one who pays for it. Fox pay for the not as good technology. In my opinion, I think the ICC should be paying for the better technology. Like, why it shouldn't be on a broadcaster, right? Like, they're already spending however much money on the game. Like they can pick whatever audio technology for their broadcasts as they choose. If players and people are unhappy about it, it should be back on the ICC, in my opinion, to fund that, or maybe Cricket Australia. Yeah, but you might be able to say that. So that is just like a consistent theme, and we're seeing it happen over and over again. And Smith has outright said that he has hit the ball, and then all the Bangladeshis knew that he was out.
And he was sort of walking off as well when the replay came up on the screen, wasn't he?
He was most of the way to the pavilion. Like it was, you could tell in his body language. So, I don't think it's good enough for Test cricket. We're trying to make this the pinnacle, and it's just going to really annoy. It's just going to keep being an issue if we don't invest in the technology.
Yeah, we're going to keep talking about it, no doubt. Steve Smith finished with 71 off 109 balls. The next best for Australia was 23. The star for the show for Bangladesh was Hasan Mahmud, who we spoke about at the top, 6 for 55. Had a little stint with Kent in the off-season. A couple of matches there, took 12 wickets at 19. Loved those conditions. And then took 4 for in that practice match against CA11 just last week. Comes out here, takes 6. All of a sudden, things are looking pretty good for the young paceman.
Yeah, really looking good. He's the second youngest player in this series. Only Tanzit Hussain at 25 is younger than him. He's the youngest bowler from either side in the series. Showed those would have been not dissimilar to maybe some of the county conditions, nipping around early, a bit of kind of moisture early on, albeit it wouldn't have been as hot and humid in Canterbury as what it is in Darwin for sure. But let's not forget that this is a Bangladesh attack that, Hasan Mahmud probably wouldn't have played this test. It would have been one of him and Eberdot to miss out had Shariful Islam and Nahid Rana been...
Well, they may have both missed out if those guys
good
were
point.
available.
Yeah, probably it would have been Tuscan, Shariful and Nahid, right? So... the Australians are at full fitness. Only Michael Neser is out, and he wasn't in the squad for this test anyway. And Bangladesh are not at full fitness. They're missing their 2 lead quicks. So it's an incredible effort. They had the conditions in their favour to knock over the home team for under 200 on the first day of a series. Given what they've been coming off, the humiliation against the Cricket Australia 11.
Yeah.
Hell of an effort.
It's an amazing turnaround. And just on those speeds, I was keeping a close eye on Mahmood. I think in one of his final overs, he hit 137, which was, I think, his fastest of the day. So again, it probably backs up your point that these conditions, not too dissimilar to Dhaka, what they're used to training and playing so much cricket in. So an amazing effort from Bangladesh. They're only 102 runs behind, but still plenty to play out on day 2. All right, we're going to finish with a question from our Instagram channel, which is on cricket.com.au's Instagram page. Just jump onto that profile and jump into the Unplayable Podcast channel. You can ask a question at any stage of this test match. And we've got this one from RithX08. He wants to know, who are the backup fast bowlers after the likes of Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood? I don't see anyone else. And it's a fair question, although they do have a pretty good Victorian on the bench for this match. Yeah, I mean, Scott Boland, test average of 18. That average comes down to 16 in Australia. He's rubbish, yeah. That's not much of a... What about beyond Scott? Who else are we looking at? So Michael Neser, remember that guy? Played 3 tests in the Ashes, took 15 wickets. He was pretty good. Brendan Doggett came in.
Played 2 tests, played a really good role, I thought. All right, so we're up to 3 backup fast bowlers. How many more do they want? I mean, it's a weird question because I think Australia's bowling stocks, just in that group, yep, there's some questions over age, no doubt, but there's 6 guys who we all know are pretty proven performers. You know, Jai Richardson, Lance Morris have had issues with their bodies getting on the park. It probably, I mean, in the sense that there's a generation of guys like Xavier Bartlett, Fergus O'Neill, lower pace guys, but who probably would be a handful on a pitch like this, I think could do a job in Test cricket. The ones that they're really excited about is the generation beneath them who haven't played much Shield cricket, in some cases none at all. The World Cup winning trio, under-19 World Cup winning trio, or quad, what do you say?
Quartet, yeah.
Of Beardman, Vidler, Anderson and Straker, especially those first 2 are really exciting. So if the current group could hang on for a couple of years in time to let Beardman, Vidler, and maybe a couple of those others become, solid Sheffield Shield bowlers, I'm not too worried about the bowling stocks. I think the batting would be more the ones that worries me, but that might be a question for a different day.
Yeah, okay. Well, get your questions in on the Instagram channel called Unplayable Podcast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you're enjoying the show, please give us a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And we'll catch you all on day 2 here in Darwin.